So as I said, there were a lot of GMAT courses available. First of all, it's a very big headache to even pick one. And that's how I came across Arun Sir's videos. And I would say that the clarity with which those videos are designed, or the way he speaks, and it was really nice. So I liked it. I felt some connection with those videos.
Give us a little bit of your profile, like what has been your background so far?
I graduated from RNS Institute of Technology in Bangalore in the year 2014, and I had basically got placements in most of the normal mass recruiting companies like Accenture and Infosys and all that. But I was actually trying more things. Since I had taken Triple as my branch, I was looking for something more, a little more core field. So then I got an off-campus opportunity with the GE Transportation, and that's how I entered GE Transportation, and that's how I entered the world of railway signaling. So I am into urban metro, so basically metro rail signaling. So I have been in this field from the beginning. It's not something that I knew when I entered, so that's how I came into it. But I've liked it so far. So mostly I will be dealing with the systems that go behind the operations of metro, the train, the movement of train that you see. So there are many systems that go behind that. So I am working on one of those systems.
Why did you think that you want to shake everything up and go for an MBA?
I was like, I'm about 8 years in my career, and this was the time that I had to decide how I want to shape further. Like, what do I have to go? Do I want to go into technical leadership roles and architect kind of roles, or do I want to go more into a project related roles like project manager, or do I even want to be people manager? I mean, things like that. So at this point, all those questions start coming up because this is the right point to start deciding on one of those things to take. So I was in that phase. I was trying to decide, and I knew that I wanted to get into the project aspect of things because I liked it more. So it has technical and that managerial. So I wanted to go in the project management or your program management kind of a field, kind of the path. But so I wanted to upskill myself for that basically. So I started looking for different ways that I could upskill myself, because I knew it would be a process. I would take maybe 3 or 4 years or even 5 years to reach there. Okay, it's just that the path I've set, but it would take 4 years to reach there. So I wanted to see if I could do something so that I am good at it when I actually reach at that point. So I looked at various options. MBA was not the first option that had come to my mind when I started thinking about it. So I was thinking some certifications, maybe PMP, maybe there is even IPMA. There are many certifications that are there. So I thought I would do something like that, and that is when I actually came across the 1-year MBA. And until then, I was in the dark. I had no idea about it. So that's when I knew that there is actually a full-time 1-year MBA targeted especially for people like me, or people mid-level executives and things like that. So I really liked that because I've always wanted to do an MBA, but I was I didn't want to make any mistake in enrolling and then thinking, no, this is not what I wanted and all that. So at every point there was always a doubt. But this time I was pretty clear. So I really liked it. It was something that I wanted too long back, but I was not sure. But now is the time that I was sure. And I felt that this would be elevate my career after this in the paths that I have set for myself.
What did your research mainly include? Did you talk to people, or was it more like your own research, or how did you go about with the research? Because that is something that most people think about, right?
Primary thing that that I wanted to differentiate this with the other things that are there is that this is a classroom training, like a one-on-one training. So yes, of course, whether it adds value is another question. The second question that came up with. But firstly, I wanted a classroom kind of an atmosphere where I'm getting to learn things from my from the teachers as well as peers, and all the other options, the good options that I had, like maybe doing certifications or some online courses, all of them were again something that does not add any kind of value apart from something that I will put effort to read from and all that. I mean, there won't be an involuntary transfer of knowledge happening, right? So that was one thing. Suddenly I decided that, okay, maybe I will take up some kind of a formal education rather than this. So that was one primary thing for me. Secondly, okay, even in that formal education, why exactly this? I would say that for me at least, I did not want to go too much into technical. I mean, at least I'm not sure if this is what is the question that you're asking, but many people have asked why not MS and why MBA, right? Like that is the question that many have asked. So I was pretty much done with the technical thing, because my work at least I have never been saturated with the knowledge, because I was always constantly learning. I had to learn new things. My ladder, of knowledge that was there for the domain knowledge have always been constantly it was there. So I never felt saturated with respect to technical knowledge at any point of time. So I didn't feel a need to gain more, to know more in that aspect, like in more of it. So and so I didn't want an expertise in a particular field in that way, but I wanted to upskill myself to have a control of an entire system, like a project. So a project is an entire system. So I wanted to learn wide rather than narrow down on a technical thing. So that is how I decided MBA.
Tell me about your GMAT journey.
So I started this entire the GMAT and MBA journey in January 2022, and so I think what was good for me is I like aptitude questions. I like doing puzzles and all. So I'm glad that it started with GMAT. Okay, if I had started with something else that I had to study, or maybe if I had started with preparing for interview or application, I don't think I would have survived. So that aspect of I'm actually studying for aptitude, which I actually like solving. So I like solving. So I did not feel that okay, I'm looking into the books or I'm going into academics after a long time. So I did not feel that. So I was happy preparing for GMAT, in fact. So but I realized that how good I was maybe during my academic time, like my engineering time, I was not up to that mark. So I definitely needed improvement. So even though I like it, and that made things easy for me to prepare for it, but I still needed quite a lot of improvements to do to actually crack the score that I really wanted. So then to be honest, nowadays the problem is it's not lack of resources, it's just the abundance of resources that you have on internet, the abundance of information that we just get confused.
So true.
So okay, then that's when I started looking for some forums that I could take help of, and so I just happened to choose Crackverbal, and I was glad that I did that. So that again, it was like, do I have to invest in a GMAT course? Maybe if I sit and I can do it. Why do I need all that questions? Always it was there at some point, but I convinced myself that I will not, or basically I knew that I will not be able to make a plan out of whatever materials I have. So that was one major thing, to take up a GMAT course. So I believe that GMAT courses one should not see as a way of gaining knowledge. It is mostly to have to strategically study or strategically prepare for whatever you're going to do. So that's where, and I knew that I did not want live classes and all that that much on the understanding aspects of concepts. I can do it with book and the videos as well, but I needed some guidance over for the math.
While you were preparing, either it was verbal or quant, is there anything that was more like a revelation that, oh, I didn't know about this, and now I know how I should be tackling this? Anything of that sort?
I would say that the biggest learning for me was to let go and not hold on to certain things. So, like if you see a question and if I know that I can solve it, I mean, I know if you give me some time, I'll definitely. So, I you know, that ego kicks in that how can I mean, I can solve this. I know I can get the right answer. So you start attempting, but it takes some time. I mean, even though I know I will eventually arrive at the right answer, but different kinds of questions has different processing time. It depends on how your mental state is at that point and all that. The same puzzle, if you give me at one point, I would maybe I would be faster, but other time I was not. So I believe that in my third attempt, the biggest learning I took from and I applied it in my third attempt was that to let go of my I don't know how it is, I don't know whether ego is the right word, but basically to let go of the questions which I know that I will get an answer to. It's not necessary that you will have to complete it. So I started choosing questions which I know will take a long time. I know I can arrive at the answer. I know I can answer it correctly, but it would take a long time. So what I would do is I'll just blindly go mark something and go on with it. So I think that strategy helped me at some point, because I am that person who will hang on and ensure that it is finished and correct, and only then go ahead so that I don't lose it, lose the point, lose the mark and all that. So especially in the verbal section, this was not for quants, this was especially for verbal. When you have extremely big sentences, especially the reading comprehension, when you have very long sentences and all that, if I read it 5 times, I'll not get it. But if I read it 10 times, I know I'll arrive at the right answer. But then I was like, no, 5 times is enough. I'll go with some feeling and I'll just mark it. But because I'm not going to spend too much time on that, because it would be the thing. Maybe I'm not able to spot it. I don't know. But let me just tick something. So I think it basically helped me in verbal rather than quants.
Right. In your debrief, I was reading your debrief. You also mentioned about the Crackverbal team being part of your journey throughout, in terms of your preparation. Just tell us a little bit about how that worked for you or how it helped.
So as I said, there were a lot of GMAT courses available. First of all, it's a very big headache to even pick one. So that's when I started, looking for reviews on YouTube, like what is good and what is bad and things like that. And that's how I came across Arun sir's videos. And I would say that the clarity with which those videos are designed, or the way he speaks, and it was really nice. So I liked it. I felt some connection with those videos, and I actually, when I had seen Arun sir's videos quite before, but I didn't know that he was associated to Crackverbal for some reason. So, and then when I started researching about GMAT courses, and I got those again, and I realized, okay, actually let me just try this. And what I actually liked about why I went ahead with everything, like even the GMAT prep, and even after that I took for applications also, I took the mentorship and all that. So why I went ahead mostly was because I really found that all the conversations that I have had with the team to be very genuine. To be very sincere. At no point I felt it was commercial. At no point they started introducing prizes, and if you want this is how it would be. If you want that, all that, which I have faced before. I have taken quite some coaching before, and for various other things. And
was GMAT easy or was ME application easy?
Oh, GMAT, any day. GMAT is easy. I would never. I'm telling, right? So that is what I told in the beginning as well. If it had been reversed, if I had to prepare for interviews and applications and all at first, I would have given up at some point. I don't know, because maybe it is because I have been in one company for 8 years, and I have hardly reflected my life in all these 8 years. Like, what have I done? What have I achieved? I never had to do that because if you're at least switching jobs, you would have to put everything. Okay, I received some appreciation here. I received some award here. You will have to put all that in your resume, build your profile for the next employer. For it to look good for the next employer. But I never had to do that. So all the 8 years I've been in one company, and they know me in and out, and I didn't have to prove anything to anyone, so I did not have to take any of those things. So I have never reflected. I mean, not only I'm in terms of all these material things like maybe awards or anything. I mean, I'm saying that as a person, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? I never had to assess that at any point of time. So to do all that, I mean, I had to do all that during this application process. So I knew this was my goal, and I was very determined to get there. But what I have to do to get there was something I was not prepared for, honestly. And I guess in that way only the mentorship helped me a lot. I mean, I got an amazing mentor, I would say, hands down. It was very nice. And he not only helped me with, I mean, you know, the MB application mentor, it was Ninad Bhave. So he not only helped me with the actual application. That was the last part. Okay, we only worked on that for 2-3 days, but all the remaining days it was mostly to bring the clarity out of me. Like, I have it somewhere sleeping, I know what I had to do, but you know, to come to the conscious part of it, like to consciously know what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, what am I attempting at, whether it is really good for me or not. So for all that, I would say that you know, that all those were very difficult for me, at least, to do. GMAT, it was, I had it in, I mean, I knew, okay, this, I could gauge myself what my strengths and weaknesses were and where I had to learn and how I had to work. But the application and this process was quite challenging.
How was your interview process? You know, how did you go through that?
My first interview was Bangalore only. So I had applied for BA and ISB, and I got a call for a B. So that was the first, and it was, how do I say, IIMB interview is at least for my batch, I don't know if it has always been like that, but it is a feel-good interview. I mean, anyone who walks out of the interview room will feel good about it. I mean, like, okay, I have done well. That's how you feel. So, so you never know how you did it, because everyone feels good. Of course, everyone is not going to go in. So it is very in that way. It is like, okay, it was like a nice conversation. That's also they're asking about how my application, about everything that I've written in my application, and it seems like they just want to know more about it. I would have written a one-liner, and they wanted to know more about it. And the questions they ask, it will be like a normal conversation. I meet someone in the bus, and I'm just telling about myself, and they ask, oh, how did you do this? Oh, how did you? More like that kind of a conversation. About that, they subtly, IMD at least, this is what happened, they subtly ask you all aspects of MBA. That's how I felt in my interview. So, like, for example, so I have done some leadership activities. So, okay, they touched upon that. So, okay, that aspect, okay, they have some information about. And then they asked something about about my company, like what it does and all that, and whether I know something about its financials and all that. So yeah, I knew about it. So yeah, that aspect they touched, like, okay, as a business, if you have some idea about what the business is and things like that. And then they started touching upon the actual then they started, you know, some finance related questions. Like, they would ask what is the difference between monetary and fiscal. And honestly, at that level of questions, even though, okay, I knew that RBI does some policies, and I knew that central government is a different thing, but I had no idea that those two terms actually is assigned for, you know, respectively for RBI and the other one. So when they got to know that I had no clue about monetary and fiscal, they started asking more of finance related questions. So they wanted to know, and honestly, I could not answer like 50% of the finance related questions they asked. So I very honestly told them I don't know, and they would ask things like, okay, do you not think it is important to know? And, you know, on those lines. So on the moral lines of things, as to, oh, do you not think it is important? Why don't you know? And all all that. So I said that at least till now I have never had to think about all that, but now that I'm going into roles, I do believe that it is important and I have to know about all these things. So I take this as a point and I'll actually improve myself, is what I told. So so I believe so it's a very nice conversation that happens. So you don't feel, I never felt nervous at any point. I was very casually answering. There were 3 members in the panel, and I was casually answered until I got at this point of finance questions, which I actually don't know anything about. But others, I was at least able to answer. So I was glad that I gave some valid points for whatever they were discussing. So, but as I said, everyone who came out of there, it was open. They didn't restrict us too much to not talk and all that outside the hall. So when whoever went ahead of me, they also came back very happy. I answered most of the things, everything. So you will never know like what they actually felt.
What about Ahmedabad?
Ahmedabad was, for me, my personal experience, it was a very nice interview because I think it was grilling. Okay, it was meant to be grilling, but somehow that whatever topic was chosen for grilling happened to be my strength. So like happened to be questions related to my industry, which I had a lot of examples to quote from. So even though it was technically grilling in the sense that they asked a lot of questions, like if whatever I told, they would go again, they'll shoot a question against it. So they have this extempore, right? So that's IIM Ahmedabad has extempore. So you will have to pick a topic from the jar, and you will have to speak about it. You will have to speak either for or against it. So in that I had got question related to transportation industry only. So that was, I don't know, luck. And in the end, after going back and forth for almost 10 minutes, and like I took my stand first. I told my thing, and he would say, he would tell a completely opposite thing, and I would give an example how that would not actually work, because if you see this project, it's not. And I knew about that project because thankfully it was related to. It was not only related to transportation; it was related to railways. In fact,
wow.
So it was subtly related to railways. At least the example that they chosen in the question was related. So it was meant to be grilling, and it is grilling. So they do like whatever you tell, they'll give one counter question for it, and you'll have to think like, okay, oh yeah, even that is the thing. So of course I thought about all that. It's not that I was continuously giving answers and all that, but you think, but you, at least for me, I had an example, because I could quote an example and retort saying that, see, this is not how, that's not right, whatever you're saying. So even though it was actually very grilling, I was just lucky that, in fact, they even asked in the end that, do you feel you're lucky that you actually got a question that is related to your field? And I was like, yeah, what is it? Today's a good day.
Thank you so much for your call. I'm sure you'll do amazing even at IIMB, and I'm sure you'll do amazing after that too.